stained in terror, with bodies still being discovered even to this day. Today we look at the horrors that unfolded in this once thriving town that now lies at the bottom of the dark, murky waters of Lake Lanier. Was the town covered up to provide water and power to parts of Georgia as officials state? Or was it also a really good excuse to cover the sins of the past like a dirty secret? One thing is for sure. In the years that have followed, rumours have swirled around that the lake is cursed and that ghostly entities haunt the waters and shoreline. Could this be true? Originally named Oscarville, the destroyed town was once a thriving black community with around 1,100 people owning their own land and businesses in Forsyth County. But on the afternoon of September 9th, 1912, a brutal rape and murder took place near Browns Bridge on the Chattahoochee riverbanks, situated close to Oscarville. The victim was an 18-year-old white woman called May Crow, and because of where her body was found, the men of Oscarville came under the spotlight in the most horrific manner. Allegedly, the young girl was walking to her aunt's house when someone snuck up behind her, hit her around the head, and then dragged her body down a gully in the woods. After raping the young woman, poor May Crow was hit with a rock 3 times, crushing her skull. Officially, this crime has never been solved, but that doesn't mean blame was not thrown and revenge dished out. You see, 4 black people were accused of this crime, and they were siblings Oscar and Trussie Jane Daniel, who were 18 and 22 respectively, their 16-year-old cousin named Ernest Knox, and lastly, Robert Big Rob Edwards, aged 24. When the news got out that Edwards had been arrested for Crow's rape and murder and had been taken to a jail in Cumming, Georgia, it only took a day for a white mob to get hold of him, shoot him, and then drag him through the streets. The gang then hung his body from a telephone pole outside the courthouse as if to make a further point. Then, on October 25th, 1912, Knox and Oscar Daniel appeared in court for the crime. In just over an hour, they were found guilty and allegedly 5,000 people gathered to see the young boys hang. Why was Trussie Daniel not convicted, you might wonder? Maybe because, being a young woman, they thought it didn't make sense that she'd hurt a woman in the way Crow died. It is rumoured that she was forced to give evidence against her own brother to be released, but whatever the case, it's strongly believed the young men didn't commit these crimes. But anger in the neighbouring white community was bubbling away like lava, and a mob was formed called the Night Riders. This bunch of thugs went door to door in Oscarville with torches and guns, threatening the community to sell their land for cheap or run for their lives. The gang burnt down buildings and businesses, as well as bombing the local church. One man named George Rucker, a descendant of an Oscarville resident, Bird Oliver, who was his great-grandfather, said, "When the Night Riders came through, they had to leave everything. The main thing that they left was property, and my grandfather had 100 acres. As the community was chased out of town, they sought refuge near the Chattahoochee River, but the Night Riders were hot on their trail, and when the townsfolk got to the bridge, they had to make a harrowing decision: face the thugs or jump in and swim as fast as they could in treacherous waters." Now take a moment to think about this. This is a whole community of young and old, men, women, children. George Rucker's grandfather survived, but several of his siblings drowned, as did a large portion of the townsfolk. The white families at this point came and seized control of Oscarville's properties until the government gradually took control. By 1956, it was decided a lake would be created that would provide water and power to various parts of Georgia, and the abandoned town of Oscarville was the destination. Named after poet and Confederate soldier Sidney Lanier, Lanier Lake has the largest shoreline in Georgia of 692 miles, larger than the actual town ever was. But when the Army Corps of Engineers readied the location for the flooding of water, for some reason, they never demolished the town, and it lies in ruins at the bottom of the lake. Roughly 50,000 acres of farmland and 20 cemeteries were either relocated or swallowed up by the waters over the 5-year construction period. Over the years, divers have reported fully intact streets, houses, walls, cemeteries. This is said to be one of the most dangerous underwater surfaces in America. Since its construction, it has witnessed around 700 deaths, and 200 of those were in the last 30 years alone. Many believe that the horrific history of the area is the cause of the deaths, with legends of vengeful spirits being to blame. Not so long ago, 2 bodies were recovered, only adding to the sinister vibe the place gives off. The lake is plagued with deaths from boats that randomly go up in flames, missing people, drownings and other strange phenomena. It doesn't help that the water levels are declining and swimmers have been snagged on structures beneath the surface, holding or dragging them beneath the cold water. The most popular story about Lake Lanier is the legend of the Lady of the Lake. It states that in 1958, two young ladies called Delia May Parker Young and Susie Roberts had decided to leave a party in town early. As they travelled home, they had to stop for gas. But then for some reason, they left without paying. What caused them to do this? Whatever it was, as they drove across the bridge at Lake Lanier, they lost control of the vehicle, diving over the edge and down into the murky waters below. For a year, no one knew what had happened to the girls, as their bodies were never found until a year later, when a fisherman came across a heavily decomposed body floating near to the bridge. She had no hands and was wearing a blue dress. Due to how bad she looked, no one could identify who she was. But that all changed in 1990, when a 1950s Ford sedan was discovered at the bottom of the lake with Susie Roberts still trapped inside. It was only because of finding the vehicle and Susie that officials could identify the remains found 3 decades earlier as being Delia May Parker Young. Although the discovery may have come as quite a shock to many, it appears locals already knew who the now identified woman was, as a woman had been seen wandering the shoreline at night, wearing a blue dress and having no hands. It is believed that if she gets the opportunity, she'll drag anyone that gets close to her down to the bottom of the lake. The Lady of the Lake is not the only spirit who has been seen here either, as there are also many reports of visitors seeing a shadowy figure floating on a raft, pushing himself along by a large pole and holding a lantern to light his way. Maybe these are just spooky tales to tell around the campfire, or to set teens on edge so that they behave themselves. But in total, there are many who believe the lake is haunted by at least 27 victims. These are people who died and whose bodies were never found. Whatever the truth may be, the Army Corps of Engineers didn't think the submerged town would cause issues of any kind when it was built, as it was never meant for swimming and boating on. But over time, that all changed. Divers who have explored the dark depths of this ghostly lake have discovered body parts. Buck Buchanan told WGCL-TV in October 2017 that you reach out into the dark and you feel an arm or a leg and it doesn't move. Due to how unsafe things are at Lake Lanier, measures have been taken to try and keep visitors safe. Popular beaches and resorts in the area have prohibited swimming in the lake and have even fenced off certain parts to be extra careful. Chilling reports of ghosts and death certainly set the nerves on edge and make you cautious of the area. Buchanan had one more unnerving thought about the missing people. He said, "Nobody has been able to lay them to rest. They're on the bottom of Lanier. Hopefully, you find them before they find you." Do you feel that the area is cursed? Maybe you feel that the angry spirits said to still linger here are those who've died in the cold grip of the water. Or could it be that the legend came about in a move to cover the atrocities that happened to the people of Oscarville? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, until next time, stay safe out there.